Hello. Get this camera positioned well. So, did my first, got a little kitty here. Azul is the kitty's name. So I got to Gaia Retreat Center, and it's it's about an hour or so boat ride from Nauta. That's a small city that's outside of Iquitos, and um, I had my first ceremony last night. Um, there's two shamans here. There are a couple, husband and a wife, and it's a really, the dynamic between them is really interesting. Um, and the Icaros that they sing are quite haunting and beautiful um, together, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. This is Palo Santo, by the way. Very aromatic wood. It's kind of like cedar. Let's see if I can load this up. But so I got here late. I missed the first ceremony because I didn't get the email. I kind of messed up, but I think I was also, I was sort of. I realized that there are subconscious barriers to me coming. Um, that's kind of when I realized that night. When I just was kind of. I had trouble sleeping the night that I missed it, and I realized it's because I don't want to go back and relive all this stuff, but I went to the ceremony and um, took the medicine. I got a very small dose, and it's very, I don't know, it's funny, like a lot of ayahuasca brews are very different. This was kind of like a syrup almost, it was like a, it was the same color as like kind of like a maple syrup, and of course it didn't taste nearly as good, but it seemed like very pure in some ways or something. There's an interesting texture to it, um, and it seemed small, but it did the trick. So I guess it wasn't that small, and um, so it took a little while for it to come on, but I didn't purge. I didn't feel nauseous all night. I felt a little bit dizzy, and I was having trouble orienting myself, but it wasn't as bad as some of the other nights. I farted a few times. I guess that was how I purged, and I pissed a lot, but yeah. Well, anyway, now that we got that out of the way, so when the journey started coming on, um, I remember just seeing all these crazy things, like I didn't know how to make sense of them all. They were just like weird colors and shapes, and it was just very kind of overwhelming, like it was just, and I was trying to like figure out like what they meant, and then I remember it was almost like I was in this alien hospital or something. It felt like this sort of advanced place, and there were these people. I felt like there was this like clicking or something, and like they were like working on me with a machine, sort of this like weird device that was emitting like waves, and they said they were kind of scanning me and like and working to heal my body with these waves that were being emitted by this machine that was running over me. And I remember like asking, I was like, this is really interesting, but I need to go back and work on the things from my past. And they were like, we'll get to that, but we'll have plenty of time for that. But now we're doing this, and so I was like, okay, I can enjoy that, because to be honest, the majority of my ayahuasca experiences sucked. Is this just gonna be terrible lighting no matter where I go? Yeah, I guess so. Oh well, fuck it. Should I move back a little bit? That's not really better at all. So yeah, it was nice to have sort of a pleasant experience for once, for a little bit anyway. And eventually I started to, I was kind of descending into this sort of darkness, and I was like, I'm going to that place now, right? And they were like, yes, and it's like, goodbye, basically. But I wasn't scared, In the past, I was scared to go back to that, but it seems like I've made some progress as far as that goes. Smells nice. Um, yeah, and I saw myself. I was in this room, all these figures they were just like these brown representations of people, almost like they were made out of like paper bags. And they were just there's this room full of people who were just, I mean, they were just sick people, and they were abusing, kids and animals and whatever. They were just, it was just like anything goes, but they were, they got off on it, basically. They just wanted to hurt things, and that's what they were doing. They were just a group of people who got together and inflicted pain. And they hurt me, they sexually abused me, and they just like tormented and tortured me, and they made me hurt animals. Um, and that was really hard, because through all that I kind of, I remember thinking that's kind of how I like survived. I mean, I kind of survived by, at least, even though they're doing all this stuff to me, at least I'm not like them. But then, they made me do that stuff too. Really, really sadistic, horrific things that made me do to animals. They were really just awful, awful. And then, it's like I'm one of them too. I'm not any better than them. But I wasn't a very good cult member. Even though I went along with it for a little while because I felt like I had to, but eventually I just couldn't do it anymore, and I just didn't participate. And they saw that, and they were like, I guess, because partially, they realize their own guilt, and if I'm not participating, it means I'm not an accomplice. So, it kind of puts them at risk, and it's like, why are you here if you're not gonna go along with it? So when I refused, they got worse. They started, they saved all their special tortures for me, basically, and that made me feel, really bad too. I mean, I don't know, it's just awful. There's like, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. But like, yeah, and I mean, I remember, there was this occasion where some police officers came. I don't know if they came into this place or if it was at my grandparents' house. That they came to. I mean, they must have known about what was going on, but I remember thinking that they, I mean, I was a little kid, and the police were like supposed to be the good guys, and I was like, oh, they're here to protect me, but they weren't. They just wanted to hurt me too. Um, and I was, I was really mad at them for that for a long time, because I guess it just taught me that there's no one I can trust, basically. That, everyone is just someone who will let you down, and who, will hurt you, basically. Um,